Pastors and leaders, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for our 10th lesson in this guide, in this series. In our last lesson, we spoke about getting men involved and, raising up leaders for ministries, the men's ministries there in your church. Today's message, and if you want to follow along, just check the description box below. But if you are following along the notes, I made a little, little thing with the word momentum here, and I titled the message, Keep the Momentum. Basically, men. Keep men coming to church. It's a challenge that most ministries have, and I believe the way to solve this issue, or at least have it under control, is like I shared in our last video, connecting with the men. This is the best way to keep men coming back. I put together, a bunch of information here in this lesson, and I think in most vital area is starting a one-on-one discipleship ministry. This can start with one guy or 10 guys. It's up to you and the size of your church. Rally together all the men that you think have spiritual maturity and potential to disciple another man, and have them, contact new believers. Start connecting with the men in the church, to start a potential relationship. And, pastor or leaders, that starts with you. We're the best example. I literally will mentor and disciple at least 2 men at a time that are in our church. And it doesn't take as much time as you think. It's a matter of spending an hour a week just speaking with them. Doesn't always have to be a time to meet, although we should do that occasionally, but it could just be on the phone and speaking about, things that are going on in life and so on and so forth. And as you identify some men that can do this, you can start giving them some simple direction. Once again, if you're following along here, you can have them make phone calls to ask men how they're doing. Is there something that they need assistance with? Something you can pray for? Let them know about upcoming events at the church. And the men that will be making the calls, you can give them, some kind of a title, maybe spiritual life coach or whatever you can come up with. But it's important to start putting things in place so they can be built upon. You should make up little applications maybe that can show some certain criterias in order to be a life coach, because if not, you'll have men coming to you from all over the place. Hopefully that would be the problem, right? That's a good thing. You could have training sessions, put little packages together, for potential life coaches and profiles for them. It's so important that we start to put processes in place, and even once they do start, developing relationships, and maybe men do start connecting with each other, and some men are allowing other men to disciple them or mentor them. You can have them fill out reports, give you a follow-up email, text message, so that you can have your, thumb on the pulse there. Have applications made up. They're real simple. You can go online and find these things everywhere. Have applications made up for the men that want to be discipled to see where they're at, and even for the life coaches, you can add that to your little criterion package there. Train up leaders to oversee the potential life coaches. Maybe you could start out doing that at first, but then you can raise somebody up. There's one area I find, I would say 7 out of 10 times when I'm dealing with a pastor and leader, talking to them, encouraging them, they seem like they're afraid to raise somebody up and allow someone to take over. Listen, what God has for you, no man can take away. So we need to be confident in raising up men, working with men, raising up leaders. We want men to take over. That's the whole idea of advancing the kingdom of God. So don't be afraid to train up leaders to take over areas of responsibility for you, especially in the leadership area. Because if not, it all falls back on the pastor. Come up with some of your own ideas in order to personalize, these programs, these applications, the criteria that you have. Between some of the information above, and that'll give you like a head start. At the second page here, if you're following below, it's a discipleship ministry leadership responsibility. I just put a few things together here, that person will be responsible, to all the life coaches and all the things that they're doing and scheduling, following up with them on a monthly basis, to be responsible to collect reports in order to give you information back. Make sure they're having, meetings, quarterly meetings, monthly meetings, or at least corresponding with each other. Coordinate meetings for the leadership to pray. Sometimes we get so caught up in ministry, we forget about praying and seeking God for direction and for empowerment. You can continue to read the list below. Have them people continue to seek out new potential, men that can help and assist. Evaluate the application processes to weed out, men that, maybe, I don't want to say troublesome, but maybe just don't meet the criteria spiritually. But pastors and leaders, discipleship is so important. And I feel like sometimes it's a dying thing in the church. We call our, study nights discipleship night. Yeah, it's discipleship, but there's nothing more effective than one-on-one discipleship. So I encourage you all to seek the Lord, take some of the information we put together here, and get it started. Have an awesome day. God bless you.